Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. You know what it is. I hope you're having a great day. You know what it is. It's More Better Monday, so we focus on things get more better, if you will. We have a great topic today. I want you to stick around. I want to give a shout out, a special shout out to my nephew, Justin Thomas, turned 21 years old today. That means you can legally lose your doggone mind. And you don't have to listen to your uncle or your dad or your mom, but you're going to listen because we still paying bills. So, that's out of the way. I hope everybody had a good weekend. For those who weren't here on the show before, I hope you had a good weekend. We're moving around. Best wishes. Shout out to Miss Eleanor is helping out my mom. My mom is doing better. For those who need to know a little bit more, she's home from the hospital, feeling better, spicy, spunky, and all those good things, sassy. So I think she's back on the road to recovery. Also, another shout out. Kyrie Irving, man, welcome to Islam the Ummah, brother. Welcome to your new beginning, brother. Like they say, this your next day could be your best day. Welcome to the Islamic community, and as well, everybody when you see the brother, give him salams. Don't ask him for money. Just give him salams and keep it moving. So that part is out. And oh, wait a minute, if you're coming on the show for the first time, let me give you some love. I'll give you a little love. Here's a little love, brothers and sisters. If you go on the show for the first time, you are in the right place. What I mean by the right place, it means that the Shout Out Show is an open platform for anybody who wants to come, share themselves, got some good vibes, information. We take it all. We do it all. Now, here's the deal. We're only on for a half hour. So wherever you are, if you're on the West Coast, half hour. Central, half hour. East Coast, half hour. What's my point? You got a half hour to get here. So moving forward as well, I just want to announce that we will be doing those Ramadan reflections. We will be having some people on talking about their reflections. It's not even have to be Ramadan, just about life in general, family, religion, spirituality, work, money, whatever you feel like vibing on, you can vibe on because you know what? There are no limits on the Shout Out Show. So if you're coming on the show for the first time, you heard me run through everything. Welcome. If you're here on the show for the first time, you can also get in the comment section. Let us know what you feel. Share your thoughts. Not share your thoughts, but you know what? You're with a group of people who've been riding with me for a long time. Listen, we just had 365 shows consecutively on Friday. And I'm happy to say the people I started on at the starting line were the people who are at the finishing line. God bless them all. Now, if you're here on the show for the first time, let me show you how this works. This is the Stars in the Building segment. Stars in the Building are my shout out show family, my shout out show soldiers who make this show what it is. We're going to start out with Sister Sultana, our consultant producer, who is running the wheel. Who we got? We got Sister Ree, Steady Eddie. Sister Ree is back from Michigan, taking care and handling family business. Always good to have you on the show, Sister Ree. She is our craft services and show dietitian. That's right. She makes sure that your boy don't shrivel up like a 2-week-old crack addict. That's right, making sure that I eat the right things. Thank you so much, Ree, for coming on the show as always. Peace and blessings to your family. And my brother, Johnny L. Thomas. Does it sound like Justin Thomas? That's right. You know why? Because this is Justin's dad. What's going on, little brother, man? Can you believe that kid is 21 years old? 21 years old. I remember when he couldn't really talk and he used to poop on himself. I told him that. Told him that, shared that on the platform, that he couldn't talk real well and he pooped on himself. So here's my deal. To my nephew, man, congratulations, you made it. But here's the deal. You're a 21-year-old black man in America. Don't take it for granted. We love you, but everybody don't love you, and the system doesn't love everybody. So, with that, take it as a grain of salt. That's my wisdom for you. Big up, JT. Who else we got? You know who's in the building, man. We got our Canadian ambassador to the Shout Out Show, my man, Altaf Rashid. He's here on the dot, brothers and sisters. He's here on the dot. All them jokes you hear about Muslims being late, that brother right there, make sure he's here on time. And Reed's here on time, and Sultana's here on time, so that joke doesn't really apply. Okay, here's the deal. It doesn't apply on this show, but anywhere else, Muslims going to be late. That's the way it goes. If you have to have an event and tell them it starts at 6 o'clock, to hopefully have them there at 8. That's the way it goes. Next up, we got Sister Ika. Sister Ika, welcome to the show. Hope you're doing well. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and Ramadan Mubarak. We hope that you're doing well and things are going well for you out in Indonesia. Not Jakarta, but Depok, Indonesia. We hope that you got your catering business up off the ground, making orders, because you know what? Entrepreneurship is leadership. It is freedom. So you have the support of myself and I'm sure everybody else here on the shout out show. Maybe you can get a couple recipes from Ree, because Ree can burn. All right. And of course, shout out to Sister Sultana, our consultant producer, who had a house full of people yesterday trying to hold it down. And let me apologize yesterday, brothers and sisters. I don't know what happened, but the whole internet went out. Like I was talking and then just went black. But here's the deal. Using these platforms, using streaming and things like that, technology is not always 100%. And so I want to apologize because I would like to say I should be responsible for the Wi-Fi. It worked all day, but then at this particular time it stopped working, and that's the way it worked. And I'm saying I apologize because I had confidence that it was going to work just like that. Moral of the story: man plans, God plans lives. Okay, what we got today? Scratching and surviving, good time. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, brothers and sisters, when that money gets funny and you're looking at your honey. That's when your money gets funny and you're looking at your honey. You know why? Because she ain't got no money either. That's right. Money make people act strange, funny for the money and strange for the change. And I'm here to tell you, brothers and sisters, we have had really 2 years back to back of just funny money. And I don't even mean funny money. It's one thing to have funny money, and it's another thing to have no money to even have is funny. But you're getting some things like stimulus money. People got 1,400, they got 1,200, and things like that. Now I'm an old school dude. Y'all know if you've been missing checks for a whole month, that money that you're gonna get is already burned up. All the people that you owe money to pretty much just show up at your house. They say you don't even have to take it to the bank. We got it. That's it. When I owe money like that, man, I don't even take it to the bank. I just take a picture with my phone because I don't want to stand in line knowing I'm not going to get any of that money. And I'm just speaking. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. This way I'm speaking this way. I'm talking this way because it's never really been a whole thing where just money just got my whole spirit down. One of the best shows was Good Times, Scratching and Surviving. The Good Times. You guys know how many people know the lyrics for Good Times? How many people know who sung the song Good Times? Mm-hmm. That, and let me throw this to you. Uh, let me throw this to you guys. The person who sang Good Times, uh, Janet Dubois, I thought somehow she was related to W.B. Du Bois. I was wrong. Her father was actually Cap Calloway. Figure that one out. All right, so who we got here? We got Samir. Samir's our Benjamin ain't your friend in this case. Look, man, if you've gone through life and you ain't been broke at least 3 times in your life, you haven't lived life. You have not lived life. You haven't been at least, I'm talking about broke 3 times. 1, as a child, because you got to get that feeling. 2, as an adult. 3, as a parent or an elder. Those are the 3 times. I'm not saying do it all together. You can't do it all together. I'm talking about, man, when you look around, this is when you want a sandwich, brothers and sisters, and you are 2 pennies short. You want a sandwich, you are 2 pennies short. This is when you will pull your car over, open the door, and look under the seat for money. I'm talking about that kind of broke. I'm talking about optimistic broke. I'm talking about when you have money in your pocket, something costs $4, you know you got 2, you will play with that $2 like it's a magic trick. Like somehow if I keep rubbing it and folding and putting it in my pocket, it's going to multiply from $2 to $4. That's right. But here's the deal. Shout out to Justin, happy 21st from Ree. Here's the deal, though. Our parents and our grandparents were magicians. They stretched the dollar way more than we know how to stretch a dollar. And I'm not saying anything about our current generation, brothers and sisters. We do what we can do. But they did so much more with less. They did so much more with less. And I often try to figure out, how do they do that? Because they still had cards and things like that. And I'm sure the economies were different, of course. I think, possibly, it's that they had a lot more of appreciation for what it took to make a dollar. I was talking to my boy Rick today. We were talking about how we were kids and how we would work. Like we work. Like when you work for money, you appreciate it differently. You know what I'm saying? Like when you work for $1, you appreciate it a lot differently. Watching Good Times, you know what my hero was? It was James Evans. It was James Evans. You know why? He didn't have the best job. He didn't stay gainfully employed. Definitely on the show because he got fired like after the second season. But it was always this thing like, this dude had a job and he made sure he stayed around people who worked. And the best episodes of the show were when he had to deal with people who didn't work for their money. Sweet Daddy Williams and all those folks like that, and the alderman, all those guys that came off as crooks, they always had an issue with James Evans. They always had an issue with James Evans. And I'm saying this is one of the things about COVID-19 and the pandemic and the bull market and the bear market, even with the crypto market, it's not going to work at least in some regards if you don't know how to. I won't say hustle because my mother hates that word. If you don't have a naturally born and adaptive ethic to look at situations around you and go, I could do that. I could do that. There are people in the world you can literally drop them anywhere, and they're gonna figure out how to make it. They're literally people. I have a friend. His name is not Annis. Yeah, no, yeah, Annis Cannon. He's the brother of Osama Cannon. This guy left the United States, went to Mexico. He pretty much got a citizenship in Mexico. He didn't speak Spanish. He was like, I want to go to Mexico. And you know what he did? He figured out how to make a living in Mexico. Now, I'm not telling you it's a glamorous living or da-da-da, but you got to admire that. You got to admire that cats that walk out of the door in the morning or walk out and get in their car, load up their car. All they have is a destination in mind. And when they get there, somehow it just unfolds that they have a plan that's going to work out. What you got for me, Samir? What's Samir talking about? It's actually funny you mentioned this because a lot of people have no clue about financial literacy. Things go farther, like you said, when you work for the money or you know how to save for a rainy day. I'm going to throw this one out. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to throw this one out. When you work for your money, all right, when you work for your money, hear me now. When you work hard for your money, and I'm going to go back to when I graduated college and I had my degree and it got me a job digging a ditch. um, when you work really, really, really hard for the money, when you get your paycheck on a Friday, you are less apt to go out and spend that paycheck on a Friday. Like when you work really, really hard. And you may the first couple times, but as you get into a rhythm of work, the idea of chasing access is a really, really, really tiring idea. And you just don't do it. You just don't do it. What you got for Ree? Love James Evans. I love the guy. You know what? I never seen him. He never had like a really great suit. James never had a really great suit. And I'm gonna tell you guys something. Watching James Evans on the years he was on the Good Times show, he made me like corduroys. He wore those corduroys in the winter. He wore them in the summer, but he wore them corduroys. Corduroy James, as quoted by Sadat X. The Masterpiece is a good example of someone who came up from nothing, made himself this multimillionaire. That's a great point. That's a great point. What a lot of people forget about Master P, and I think this is important. So I watched the little chronicles. They had a series on about No Limit. People forget that Master P left where he was and went to the West Coast. He was out in the West Coast dealing with West Coast rappers. He owned a record store. He gotten some money from a relative who won a legal case, a lawsuit or something. And he starts his record store out on the West Coast. And this is what I'm talking about. He doesn't stay where he grew up. He left and went west. Like I said earlier, you drop some people in the middle of something, they figure out how to make it a thriving or a flourishing situation. Literally, they have no apprehension about will I be successful. They know. Listen, I'm gonna start, and it's interesting. If and I'll throw this out here to the audience. Yes, Satana James Evans, best TV father ever. Some people say Cosby was Cosby. We like Cosby. Cosby was like super successful. He was super successful, but it was like a fallacy. We didn't know people like Cosby around us. James Evans, we knew James Evans. You can walk, you could throw a rock. Guess what? You could throw a JJ and hit a James Evans in the back of the head because there was so many of them. That traditional father, and that's and I think that carries over, brothers and sisters. I think that carries over because we all grew up that way. We're a generation that's a lot closer to people who started from the bottom, now we're here type of deal. Like my father, when he finished high school, he goes into the military, right? Goes in the military, finishes military, comes back. Now, he gets a job working at NIH, National Institutes of Health. His job, from what I remember, he starts out cleaning out the library. He's a cleaning guy. He goes back to school. I think it's Federal City College. It's long gone now. He goes back to school. He gets his BA, and he winds up being deputy director of wow. Essentially, he was one of the people who helped select which grants got funded, like for kidney lung research. And this is really important because his office was one of the people who would have been on the pandemic issue. But he wound up being a deputy executive director. That's what it was. And he had the power to hire people. Like he hired a bunch of my cousins, really. And they still work those jobs. Holy Cross, NIH. He hired those folks, man. And he's a guy that started from the library. And then he winds up being a deputy executive director. That's a big move. I mean, he knows Tony Fauci and all these type of guys. Your mother was the same way. Mother's like, they leave Danville, Virginia. They show up to big city, Washington, D.C., Howard University. They don't really have money, but they figure it out. My mom and my aunt, they figure it out. Now, my mom and my aunt, my uncle, my mom, my aunt, and my dad, the example I just gave, it's no different than pretty much your moms and your dads and your uncles because those narratives are really, really fresh. And the thing that makes it special is, just like we were talking about money, scratching and surviving, it's the scope that they had less access. They had less access to opportunities and resources. However, I think the thing that carries them is they have that gene. I don't know what we're going to call this gene. We could call it the scratching and surviving gene. They have the scratching and surviving gene whereby they know if they stop, they drop down someplace, they're going to work and make the situation better. It could be an outgrowth, if you will, from the South, the narrative of the South. At the turn of the century, about 80% of African Americans were below the Mason-Dixon line. 80% were below the Mason-Dixon line. And then they migrated north. Well, yeah, it migrated north because you had world wars and stuff like that, the need for labor and stuff like that, particularly in our case, cheap labor, replacing union labor in some regards, or replacing labor that had gone to war. Hold that thought, though. Because they get up north or they get a little west and those jobs aren't there. The war's over. And, of course, the white people come back and they want the jobs back. So you have people who came there thinking that jobs are going to be there. But nonetheless, they create a culture. Some of it great culture, some of it not so great culture. But they create a culture whereby we benefit from it today. In fact, this culture is so lucrative, brothers and sisters, that non-blacks, non-Latinos, non-Native Americans benefit from it too. Well, they benefit from the laws that had to be enacted to protect this culture, to build infrastructure for this culture. And now, of course, and I'm not being facetious. One of the hardest things they worked for was what? The vote. They worked for the vote. Going from 1865 up to 1965, you guys have no idea. And sometimes I have to remind myself what the fight was for the black person to have a vote. The 14th Amendment is, of course, it's a piece of dogma because it says you're free. Well, the 13th Amendment says you're free. Fourth Amendment says you are a citizen. Now it becomes I need it to be something that's practical, enforceable off paper. And that type of thing, which is so much beyond my job, which is so much beyond my career, which is so much beyond where I live, that's what makes that generation special. That's what makes me appreciate that generation. Years ago I talked about why we need to talk to our elders. You need to talk to your elders. You know why? Because they have a particular type of DNA and narrative that all of us could benefit from. All of us can benefit from. I look around. The people I used to hang out with, the people I listened to a lot, were entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs. My granddad told me a long time ago. We were having a conversation about work and da da da, and then he said, "Well, you better get some education." He said, "Boy, ain't nobody gonna really want to hire you, not the way you thinking." He didn't say I was thinking wrong. He said the way I was thinking. And there are a lot of people who think that way. And I think we all have to appreciate it. We all have to ingratiate with those folks at some point in time because they are the backbone. Entrepreneurship in the African American community, in the Latino community, in the Native American community, what's left of the Native American community, is, without a doubt, the single most inspirational thing that we could ever talk about. Because having a job is one thing, having a career is something different. But also, building an economy, love it. I was saying this to my friend Omar Kareem yesterday. He came by to check on me, check on my mom. Good brother, man. Love Omar Kareem. May Allah be pleased and preserve that brother. Omar Kareem is one of the few black real estate developers in the country. I mean, minority business enterprise, all of that. But they build stuff. He's a former lawyer. He got into the real estate game years ago. He's done amazing things in the city of DC. They have a collective of guys who are black entrepreneurs, high net worth, and they go around and they pick projects that they want to fund. They pick projects that make sense. They pick projects, and here's the big one, they pick projects that are going to lead to bigger projects that are going to allow them to bring more people in. And the fun part about Omar is Omar wasn't born with a spoon in his mouth. Neither was his brother Talib, who's also an attorney, Talib Kareem. He said, he spent a lot of time as a kid walking and taking a bus. We always joke about going back to school and your back to school shoes and a little barrel at the grocery store. This is when you could buy your shoes at the grocery store. And so you get eggs, you get cheese, you get milk, and you get tennis shoes. No box. You pull them up, they have a little white thing, and mom just throw them in the basket. They were your shoes. But he said something. And his parents went at first. He said he watched his parents take risk. He said his parents took risk at a time where you didn't have minority business, this or that. But they looked at the need and they could look forward and say that our people will need this in the future. And so the idea becomes build it now, have it sustainable so that other people can access it along the way. It's the same thing with, things like the Muslim Journal, Sister Aisha, big ups. The Muslim Journal has been established on the fact that they understand that need is going to be there moving forward. So you could talk about circulation and readership and all that type of stuff. But they understand that the Muslim Journal has a very intricate and intimate connection with the entire Muslim community and some people outside of the Muslim community. It's the same as a final call. They all have vital roles to play. Now, think about that. I just mentioned the final call in the Muslim Journal talking about scratching and surviving. Because these are our literary heroes. You'll take $1 and give it to a brother to get a final call or to get a Muslim Journal or $2, depending on where you are or who's selling the paper. But what happened to that? What happened to that? You know what I ride up and down the street. You know what I haven't seen in a long time? Talking about scratching and surviving. I haven't seen a lemonade stand. A kid selling lemonade. I saw one years ago. I stopped and I bought the whole pitcher. And then someone else stopped and said, "I'm gonna buy a pitcher too." But we don't want a cup. We want a whole pitcher. We're greedy or whatever. But that type of esprit de corps is something that I'm really, really, really interested in us having a conversation about. This week, inshallah, we're gonna have Rick Sclafford on talking about crypto. He actually teaches a course on crypto. He's developed. I mean, he knows cryptocurrency, but more so than Bitcoin, he has a really sweet and engaging philosophy about how you spread your money in terms of the financial literacy involved with being in the crypto market. Not just buying a Bitcoin, but being in the crypto market, moving your money around, knowing when to pull your money out, knowing when to leave your money, knowing how to really look and I really want to say detail what your purchases are going to be. I was talking with him today. He's like, you have CDs from the bank at 1.7%. He said you can get 1.7% in a day on the crypto market just by lining up where your money is and being very, 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 very specific about how much of a return you want. Is it an aggressive return or is it a steady return? Do you want 30% or do you want 3%? And it was a fascinating conversation. But we're talking about scratching and surviving this week. Well, we're gonna talk about scratching and surviving and looking at the crypto market this week. What you got for me? Lemonade from the past, got that pickle and the KoolAid now. Let me say something about that guy that was selling those KoolAid, KoolAid pickle juice. Thank you for reminding me, Altaf. Let me say this. While I did make some jokes about the KoolAid pickle juice, Ree told me, "Ooh, hey, good." And I was like, "What? That's good." I've never had the KoolAid pickle juice or KoolAid pickles. I never had that. But that Ree said it meant that if she said there's probably other people who found that some type of a delicacy, who found it tasty, who found it, something nice to have on a hot day, who found it valuable. So for that brother, I know he probably don't watch Shoutouts show. Let me apologize. Let me apologize because I just talked about I haven't seen a lemonade stand. Altaf just reminded me, maybe that was you back in the day. That little kid with a lemonade stand, and you say, you know what? This product ain't moving. You know what's moving? KoolAid pickles. Let's get to our sponsors today. We want to give a shout out to BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com, who we'll also have on as a part of our show talking about finances. Shout out again to Miss Maxine B. Kate. If you don't want to go to the website, brothers and sisters, call 1-800-679-3175. Again, that's 1-800-679-3175. You can do that. It's all right. And I encourage you, go look. We're gonna be doing some things different. I know this is Ramadan, but the thing about Ramadan is it's a great opportunity, brothers and sisters, to recalibrate how you think, to reframe and reshape how you see things. I mean, I'm having a blast during Ramadan because I came into it with a certain aggressive nature, if you will. Coming out of the pandemic, I was like, I'm still standing here. And I'm not saying it's arrogant or anything like that, but I'm like, what else does the world have to? I watched the world go through a pandemic. I'm living, I'm thinking, I'm still creative, I'm in a great mood most of the time. And you know what? I'm still expressive about where I am. So, that's what we want to do. So also I want to give a shout out to Bayan Islamic Graduate School. Again, that's Bayan Islamic Graduate School, brothers and sisters. I'm telling you, you don't have to be Muslim to even have to go to Bayan. What you have to have is an interest in religion and theology. When I say interest in religion and theology, I'm talking about not just taking the courses. Because I'll tell you about this about Bayan. It started out is it theology? And what it is it really opened up myself in terms of how I looked at religion and spirituality, and also how I was willing and looking how to apply it to the world, apply it to my life, apply it to my business, apply it to my community, apply it to my family. So, it's only a 2 year scholarship, but the effects can last a lifetime. I'll leave it at that. So we got some stuff. Altaf is doing jokes. Can you put that up for Altaf? Altaf, Satana thought you were funny. Thank you, Canadian Ambassador. And Rhea is offering pickles and peppermint are good too. Rhea, you need to stop. You need to stop. I was going to let you have the pickle juice. Now you're just going off too far now. Too far. I'm beginning to say, we're around the same age. I'm like, where you finding this stuff? Where you living getting pickles and peppermint stuff? All right, I'm going to let it go. Brothers and sisters, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Big shout out to my nephew, Justin Sky. That's his rap name. Justin Sky. To me, you're always going to be a little kid, Justin Thomas. And I'm always going to be Uncle Preach. There you go. So I appreciate everybody coming on the show, on the platform today. This is More Better Tuesdays. Hey, all of y'all, even though it's tough, keep scratching and surviving. Good times. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Preacher Mars. Stay blessed. Assalamu alaikum. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your shout out show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next shout out show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from Tarif Attar. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out tarifattar.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.